Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. And why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Teasha Cable, CEO of C Model Data. And today we have a remarkable guest who is a leader in operations management and customer engagement. Her name is Carol Marshall. She's currently the Chief Operations Officer at ActivEngage. She has over 16 years of experience shaping the customer journey and enhancing dealership revenue from effective operational strategies. Carol, welcome to the show. I'm thrilled to have you here today. Tell me more about ActivEngage and what all the work that you're doing there.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Teasha. I am thrilled to have this conversation with you today. I love the premise. I am such a wholehearted supporter of great decisions come from conversations. It's what I preach about. Meetings has a bad name, but when you're talking is when your frontal lobe lights up. And scientifically, we know that's where your ideas and creativity get sparked. So ActivEngage has been around about 17 years. We develop our own software and handle conversations on behalf of automotive retailers, car dealers, with shoppers. We are 100% human based. So we have a whole team of folks all over the country who are having these conversations on behalf of the dealer clients that we serve. And the point of our conversations is to build relationships, to build trust, to have that shopper feel comfortable in moving forward and doing business with that dealer. That's, all of us can go down the rabbit holes online and do research and research and research. And sometimes you just need that lifeline of, okay, tell me I'm not crazy. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm looking for. Can you help me? So it is really about that kind of connection externally on behalf of our clients, that we've also looked internally and built such a strong culture here with our team. I have overnight agents who've been with us 7 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's almost
So
unheard of in the customer
yeah.
engagement space. Yeah.
Yeah. So love the company and love what we do, and the whole change especially today in the automotive industry, tons of change, right? But the automotive industry is always changing. Technology is always changing. And so we find that human connection our North Star. So that's what we focus on.
So let's stay on let's kind of I want to combine a couple of things here. So one is I've got the automotive industry on one
Yep.
hand, and then I've got customer engagement
Yes.
on the other hand. Can you tell me in your industry what is the most critical element of success in your industry related to customer engagement?
So I think a survey was done years ago, and buying a new car came in number two as the most painful thing to do behind going to the dentist. So as exciting as it is to get a new vehicle for everyone, and it's the most expensive emotional purchase. When you think about it, when you're buying a house, you have real location, school, size. But when you're buying a vehicle, it's largely emotional.
Yes.
And so when you think about the automotive industry, you understand that there's a lot of emotion there. It's filled with unique individuals. It's a fantastic industry in that someone with a high school diploma can come in and earn six figures. If they're driven and they put in the time and they learn their craft, absolutely. And then you're right, you position that with customer engagement, and customer engagement inside of the automotive industry, you have to overcome that fear and that mistrust and that 50, 60 years of bad reputation that makes people shy away from engaging with the dealer. And that's our goal. Is we look at ourselves as like the hostess in a restaurant. It is to meet and greet that shopper online and make them feel comfortable and put them in the right position so that the dealer ultimately can help them with their needs. And that's why we're unscripted because every shopper is different. You have so many demographics, so many generations out there in the market today.
Yeah.
It's and everyone's comfortable chatting these days, whether it's a text or a chat or social media vein, everyone's comfortable with it. And so our team is very, very skilled at understanding the differences and the nuances of engaging.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that you just said kind of ring true and important across industries to me. And this is something that we've been talking about a lot. So you have to overcome fear and you have to overcome mistrust. So whether I'm talking about my employees in my company or I'm talking about my customers, fear and mistrust are things that have to be overcome in every scenario. And so companies will need strategies in order to do that. And then this idea that you're going to meet and greet. So we know that we're in the age of artificial intelligence, and my company in itself, right, is an AI based company. So we appreciate, right, the fact that artificial intelligence can come in and do certain tasks for us. But what we can't get away from is that there is an element of meet and greet that's still necessary. It's probably why, in sales processes, you still have people in front or you have people like
Right. Right. Right.
with AI, but tell me more about where you feel the human belongs in your particular industry related to meeting and greeting.
Okay. It's a great question. Certainly, I think there are some shoppers that may come in with a very simple question. How late is your service department open?
Mhm.
And that's somewhere where I think AI can suffice and answer that question. I think with a human answering the question, we open up the conversation and say, we close at 7 p.m. Which vehicle were you looking to have service? And then take them down the road of setting that appointment and really building a relationship. But could AI stand there and do that? Absolutely. For the automotive industry, because we are trying to overcome that fear and mistrust and build that relationship, I think the human touch is needed fairly early on in the conversation. Shoppers want to know they were heard and understood. And that definitely translates. I often use the example if I pull up to Chick-fil-A and order that peach milkshake,
Yeah.
what do? I wait to hear my order back to me before I move forward. I won't move until I know you got my order, right?
Come on, peach milkshake.
Yeah, that's it. So it's the same way in the conversation. Until the shopper knows and we rephrase and restate, this is what I heard you asking about, they don't move forward in the conversation. And so I'm not sure AI is as adept. I think there's a certain level of that, but probably not to the extent that feels natural yet for us. So humans are super important in that regard as well.
Yeah. And I think that there's no condition where people don't want to be heard and understood, right? In our own personal experiences, we want to be heard and understood. And at work, we're finding more and more and more employees want to be heard and understood. And you have to demonstrate that you're hearing them and understanding, or you know what they'll do? They'll contribute to what has been happening, which is right, they move on, they go
Yes.
to other places. So we do see the workforce retention issues can also be
Yes.
mitigated by having strategies in
Yes.
place to help you hear and understand. Let me go a little bit into frameworks for decision making with you here. So, tell me a little bit about a framework that you might have when it comes to improving the customer experience at Active Engage. And what happens when you don't have all the information that you need?
So we watch the market extremely close and we stay close to our dealer clients, right? And then we are watching daily the volume of conversations, the results of those, how well are they handled. And when we see a trend starting to form, we know it's time to go back and really analyze what we're doing and how we're handling these conversations. A great example of that we've come to know through the years, there's a certain point in time in December where you start getting holiday shoppers. And so holiday shoppers, they're not relational. They are very transactional. And you better be very quick to answer hours, availability, whatever that is, in and out because they're in a hurry. Everyone's in a hurry, right? Right around mid to late December, everyone's rushing around. But even beyond holiday shoppers, when we start to notice something, the first thing I'll do is start asking a couple of questions. That's a strategy for me. I love questions. I love to get questions. And so then my team will go and start asking the same and more questions of their team. And often it ends up with a group of us around a table going, when I see X, I think it's Y and Z. And someone who's closer to it will go, I can understand why you think that, but it's actually B and C. And so we just go through what we think is going on and then look at what the data is showing us. Sometimes we need to boot it and come back in 2 weeks after we have more data, but often we can make little tweaks right there and then develop the strategy and the plan to communicate that with the folks who are executing.
What's hard about this process?
You have to have the trust of the folks, right? So I'm the COO. If I start asking questions, it's understandable that you're going to defenses go up. And I will repeat, I'm focused forward. I'm not focused backwards. I'm looking towards how do we build this better? Not how did we sink or dip here or how are we stagnating? I just want to build future. So the hardest part, which I think we've done a great job of here, is earning the trust of the folks that you work with. That is why our tenure is so long. People know that there's a mission before us. It's not Survivor Island and who we're going to vote off. Um,
Thank goodness. Yeah.
yeah,
You know, what's interesting about this is so the things that you're talking about, the mission before you, a lot of times companies don't have their core strategy intact, right? And so it's really difficult to bring people along when that core strategy isn't intact. You know, you see the mission, the
yeah,
vision and values are things that live in some PowerPoint presentation, or if it's a smaller
yeah,
startup company, they don't even have it, right?
yeah, right.
And here you're saying, join this mission with me.
That's it.
We're gonna transparently navigate our way through it so that you'll trust and believe and can hold me accountable,
Right.
leader, when we're not doing the things we said.
We have ours put all over the walls in various places. It's to create meaningful conversations that generate trust and action.
Okay. Let me give that one to the audience.
Yeah.
Create meaningful conversations
Conversations
that generate trust
and
and act.
action.
Come on.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that's for external and internal, you
Yeah.
know? That's what we're doing with our shoppers, that's what we're doing with each other.
Yeah, I think that in itself, audience, take that one away with you. Take that one. That
Yeah.
was some good stuff. Let me keep moving here. So when it comes to like tracking the outcomes of your major decisions, are there any metrics that you find really important for measuring success?
There are different metrics based on whatever that decision was, obviously. I think one of our primary, because we're not a corporately held, we're not a public company, we guard our resources very carefully and closely, and resources being money, but also people's time. So one of the metrics is this work long standing? Is this something that's going to serve us for a year or more? My CTO, his phrase is throwaway work. I don't want to do throwaway work. And we've kind of all adopted that. And sometimes we like to make jokes with it as well. Like, I would be nice to you, but I don't want to do throwaway work. We like to give each other a hard time about that. But that's one thing is this a meaningful thing to put our time and our thoughts into? Is it going to last? Is it something we can build on? That is definitely a measurement. And then it's opportunity cost. If we make this choice, what are we saying no to?
What are the trade-offs,
Yeah.
right? I love a good trade-off when I'm the one giving them. When you're the one receiving them, I don't like trade-offs. but they're super core. So for the audience, I just want to say guarding your resources, stewarding your resources to
Yes.
me is a critical point. So I'm really grateful that you brought that up. And then we're gonna steal no throwaway work. So when we're running around CMOL and other companies saying no throwaway work, I think we hope you guys won't mind. But I really like that. And I think people struggle with opportunity costs, right? They struggle with the decisions that they need to make
They do.
regarding what things actually can or should we be doing. Can you tell me a little bit about the baseline for making those decisions? What information do you need at your fingertips when you're evaluating a trade-off?
So how many potential clients will that serve? How many are we going to serve? Who will we not serve with that work? How many will we serve? What could be step two? So if we make the move to this, what could come after it? Is it limitless or is it very limited? You know, great, you're going to have a beautiful cake, but there's nothing else after that, you know. So we think about that. Who are we serving? What can come next? And then we talk about it together as a executive level committee, and then we'll go talk about it in our departments and really let it settle in and get input. And then usually it's because I am the most impatient person here. Usually it's me that goes around and go, okay, well, what are you thinking? And what are you thinking? And 9 out of 10 times, everyone's thinking the same. They've all kind of we kind of coalesce around the same decision. And so then it's time to just get moving.
So tell me, when you coalesce around the decision and it's time to activate, what are
Mhm.
some of the steps that get taken to ensure that you don't lose track of the decision?
We have a great product guy and we pull him in and we're like, okay, brain dump. This is what we think the purpose of this is. This is the value we believe in it. And these are all the features and aspects to go into it. And then what belongs to development? What belongs to operations, marketing? When do they come in? We just start laying out that roadmap execution.
Yeah. Now, what typically goes wrong? Where are all the problems in this process?
Where are all the problems?
Not all, maybe just one problem.
Yeah.
All is a little bit of a little too much.
I
Yeah.
think problems always come down to communication. Always come down to communication. It could be someone forgot to communicate something down the road to someone on their team, or it could be the way something is stated is taken in a different manner. You know, my language and a very technical person's language totally they're going to use words that mean one thing to them and mean something different to me. And I think that's where humility comes in. So everyone has to be comfortable to say, I don't think I understand what you're saying. And is there a different word? Often people can see my face and go, I think I need to use a different word. And I'll be like, yeah, please do. So it's communication.
Yeah. So you know what is really good is we often talk about building a common language. So if you take what you just talked about and you process it and you turn it into something that can happen in a repeatable way in an organization that looks like, what does our common language look like? We don't often think about, I need a whole glossary of terms that we all agree on, but I think more and more, especially as we go into more advanced technology and artificial intelligence use cases too, the people part that needs to get translated a lot of times has to do with language and how we perceive and understand
Yeah.
words. Common language building, I think,
Yes,
is key.
that's a great insight. I
Yeah.
love that. That's you're dead on. A few years ago, everyone had to read Winning with Accountability by Henry J. Evans. And so we reread that every January. And inside that book is the language of specificity. And the language of specificity says, you know, there is no ASAP. There's Monday by noon, there's Tuesday by 10 a.m., but ASAP is not is not an expectation.
That's really good because I communicate in ASAP all the time. My team will tell you, I'll be like, "When do you need ASAP?" But if you come back and tell me the actual date, I'm going to accept that, but it all starts ASAP with the CEO.
I like the common language. That's great. Language is so funny these days too with
Yes.
people just I have 4 children,
Oh,
millennials,
they're
Gen
creating
Z.
language.
Yeah. I studied their language and started using it back to them, and they're like, "That's just weird."
No, it's fascinating. The kid language is fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep going here. So, we talked about the common language. One thing I want to tell the audience, I want you to think about your own experiences. I want you to think about them around customer engagement and even your internal customer communications. And what kind of decisions have you made recently that have impacted those interactions? Think about those. Share your thoughts with us on LinkedIn and other social media, dynamic decision podcast. I want to move on here, Carol, and let's take a look at how you actually foster innovation in your organization. And being decision forward here, what are some of the things that you've decided? Maybe give us an example of a few decisions recently that impact innovation in your organization.
We have been piloting with an AI digital assistant. So, we're fascinated by AI. We love AI, and certainly I think there's just tremendous value in leveraging it. And I think when you find the right combination of AI and human, that's really where the magic can happen. We've been piloting a digital assistant to help the human agents, right? Whether it's to find inventory or store hours or a particular note about that dealer client. So it helps them to respond more quickly. Yeah, now we've turned our eyes toward what we know AI is excellent at, which is analysis and reporting. And so to do some sentiment reporting and look at what are other makes and models mentioned in the conversation so that our dealers can know, our dealer clients, our OEM clients, our marketplace clients can know from a shopper's perspective, they like this model for this reason, even though they're on this site shopping for this model. Intent, shopper motivation, all of these things that can help better inform OEMs and dealers for their marketing efforts and how they're structuring their site. I'm excited to be able to get that extra peek into the mind of the shopper. Internally, we can use it to see what were successful engagement tactics and what were not. And how does that differ from one geography to another or one make to another? So I love could really geek out, but that's where we're looking now for
So
innovation.
that's good. And I think what I'm getting from that, but the overall intent there is to create more value for both your customers and your internal team. How can I advance the cause of what they're doing? So what you're looking at to innovate your team is really how useful is this in us doing the work that people
Yeah.
are doing, which means that the decisions that you're making are really centered around your team. You're really making productivity based decisions that hopefully lead to even better profits down the line. So there's a causal connection there.
Yes. Yes. That
Yeah.
continued low turnover in the team. I think the team gets smarter. So, I mean, it's easy to say these are chat agents and they're in the weeds and they're handling conversation after conversation, which is all true. But we've always taken the time to pull them out of the weeds, whether it's weekly or every other week, and go, hey, this is what your work is producing in the way of KPIs as a company, kudos from clients, but now to be able to dive in even deeper and say, hey, this is why that question is such a great question.
Let's go to my favorite part of this whole thing, which is I get to find out what your decision making style is through a persona assessment. So I am going to ask you some questions, but the way that I'm asking the questions is to see if you identify with asking the question that way. Each one of the four questions I'm going to ask you actually represents a persona, a
Okay.
style of decision making. And I'm going to say, what percentage of you makes a decision like this? So you only get 100% total, but you can answer any one of them 0 to 100%. Let's get started. The first question. Hey, we're considering a new operational strategy. How are we going to ensure that it aligns with our core values and enhances our customer experience? How much of you resonates with asking the question that
20%.
way? That persona is called the feeler. So that's the feeler, your big gut feeling, touchy feely persona. Okay, here we go. Here's your next one. So, we're reflecting on last year's operational initiatives, and I want to know what specific trends or insights have we uncovered that will significantly influence our next strategy.
Probably 40%.
That is a planner. Good. Here we go. Looking at our previous operational changes, what lessons have we learned that fundamentally change our decision making process?
Probably 10%.
10%. That one is called a counter. We're just counting. And here's the last one. Now that we're formulating these new operational strategies, what specific data points are we going to rely on to validate our decisions?
That's 30%. And that is perfect. Yeah.
That one is called the data driver. There is a trend here, my friend. Most of the operational folks, COOs that I have spoken to, lean heavily on data driver and planner.
Yeah.
So
Good.
noticing that, that's right. So there
I'm in
is
the right job.
that's right. And I identify because this was my job too back in the day. So before what I do now. So I'm super pumped that you have pretty balanced decision making, which is the goal of the entire assessment. So you are 20% feeler, 40% planner, 10% counter, and 30% data driver. It's really, really good also to share things like this with your
Yeah.
team because then they'll understand how to bring you better stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, so finally, let's wrap this up. Here's the question that I have for you. One, first, let me just thank you again for really being so transparent and sharing your expertise with us. But my last question is for leaders in your space, there are decisions that they're faced with right now. What advice do you have for them in one of the most core areas? So pick a core area that they're likely deciding stuff right now. And what advice would you have for them?
In the core area of, again, with all of the news that's going on today, a lot of things happening in the automotive industry with tariffs and so forth. And so I would pick the core area of sales planning and maybe production planning. And my advice would be to be steady. Do not fear. In personal and professional, I just will not make a decision based on fear. So I will not choose something because I'm afraid of whatever else. So it's easy to get wrapped up in headlines and blah, 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 right? So my advice is just to stay steady, look at your team, look at what you bring, what do you solve for your clients, and continue to hone that, and your path will be fine. Your path will be good. So,
That's great advice. Stay steady, fear not,
yeah,
plan, prepare. Those are the things that we can control. That
that's
was
it.
inspiring. Thank you for sharing it. Can you tell our listeners where they can learn more about you and Active Engage?
Absolutely. And thank you again so much for reaching out. It has been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you. People can find me on LinkedIn, Carol Marshall. My email is carol at activengage.com. And yeah, we have our website, of course, activengage.com. Happy to speak with anyone.
Fantastic. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember that the best decisions come from great conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate it, share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media using hashtag Dynamic Decisions Podcast. Thank you so much. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.